Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's get it, y'all. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Trap or Dive podcast, y'all. Appreciate everybody that's tuning in live. First and foremost, what's good? Oh, I see you, bruh. Let's get it. Hey, if you got anything, you know what I'm saying. You know who coming up around 8:30. So, if you got anything that you want to know from Clinton, obviously respectfully, man, don't come in here with no wild shit. Oh, let us know, bruh. Everybody else who's tuning in, I appreciate y'all for joining. Wild shit. Oh, let us know, bruh. Hey, somebody on the pod listening to the stream. Hey, but listen though, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man, and welcome to another show of the Trap or Dive podcast. We got the full crew here. Mr. DC Sports himself, Dre. And then we missed our guy AJ last week, but he sure as shit let me know that I was wrong about Kadarius Toney. And he made sure to let me know I was wrong about Kadarius Toney, and I told him, man, I was like, shit, I don't know much about the nigga, but if you say it, I'll take your word for it. First and foremost, fellas, how y'all feeling today? AJ, man, we missed you last week. You go first. You let us know how what you got going on and how you doing.
Hey man, feeling good, feeling blessed, man. Happy to have my boy Clint Portis come on here today, man. Have a great show, interact with the fans. Looking forward to having a discussion about the team that we love, Washington.
Yes, sir. And Dre, what you got going on over there, man?
Nothing much, man. Just happy to be back talking for another week. I just matter of fact, I know AJ wasn't feeling well last week. I don't know if I caught whatever he had, but I was dealing with that for the rest of the week, man. I was sick as a dog.
Don't put that on me.
Oh man.
I don't know. Might have came through the text streams, man. It was something going on, hey. But yeah.
but look, before we get into the show, right? Like before we went live, we also was talking about obviously your line of work. Again, if you all were here day one, obviously I told you all AJ is in the weeds of the sports business. Like he has a lot of knowledge about this stuff, man. I had a question that I wanted to save on air, right? So AJ has been dealing with. He's a sports agent. He's been dealing with a few clients that's actually currently in the league. And then obviously AJ, if these things some things you can't talk about, completely get it. All right. Like we don't even have to keep going. But obviously, you have your depth of knowledge with how the business is ran, and obviously, how many years you've seen X amount of things happen. So when you were talking about, we had a conversation about how some of these players are getting paid and how some can actually get paid up to millions of dollars to switch agencies. Possibly, is there something where like people can get paid? It's possible. Asking, it's possible for people to get paid under the table too. Like for example, because I can speak on this guy because like he's not even in the league anymore, and this was arena football. He was like an elite returner. He ended up going to the Philadelphia team. I can't remember his name, right? The team name, the Philly, that was the arena league. I think, was it Soul? Something? I think it was Philly Soul or something. I don't know. Anyway, he went to the Arena Football League. And when he tried out for the Arena Football League and they wanted to sign him, the first thing they did was pay this man under the table. The team did. Now, I don't know, when he told me that, I didn't care to ask like how legal it was. I didn't care. Like it's over and done with. But are you like, is it possible for that to happen? I'm not going to say if you know or not, but is it possible for that to happen where a team can give a player extra money under the table?
Oh no, it can't happen with a team because everything is audited and everything is documented. As far as the NFL, like maybe your arena football leagues, whatever, because those businesses
I had to distinguish it. Yep.
Anyways,
sure.
Yeah, they probably do little things under the table, but I mean, in regards to the agencies, yeah, I mean they call it marketing guarantee when they're trying to recruit new guys. whether it be from the collegiate ranks or even already professional. But I mean, it's just how you want to maneuver with your business. You know, you have some guys that and women that do it legit, and some people that do it the funny way. But I mean, you play that game, you ain't gonna be in the industry for too long. You're gonna have a lot of issues on your hands.
That is probably a fact. Now, on second thought, because you said that auditing part, I'm familiar with auditing for the last 2 years. Given that that's my day job. When he told me this was 2021. He probably told me this like around 2014. So, on second thought, he may have possibly been bullshitting anyway.
I
may have
mean,
been bullshitting anyway.
He probably told you the truth, but like I said, it's a new business, so you could probably, who knows how much he was given? Like, could have put 10,000 in the
Yeah,
bank.
I say he definitely didn't give a number.
You never know people's financial situation, so
he never did give a number. Okay, all right. So I appreciate the perspective on that because I wanted to know that question for a long time. Like literally, he told me this in 2014. I had to wait 7 years to ask that goddamn question to somebody who knew something. That shit is vicious. But all right, let's go ahead and start the show off with the first segment, the quote of the week. Obviously, for those who aren't aware, each of us are bringing an interesting quote that we heard during the week to the episode, and we talk about it. It could be anything about sports, it could be anything about life, doesn't matter. But Dre, I know you said you had something you wanted to bring to the table this week. What was your quote of the week?
I feel like my quote of the week always comes back to something Washington football related, but mine is Martin Mayhew's quote this week. Anytime you see guys with limited time on the job, that is a concern for me with the quarterback position. And that changes probably a lot about everything a lot of fans probably initially thought about, the direction this team may go in, because for me, that says like a guy like Trey Lance isn't maybe our type of guy. I don't think that fits him. They're probably looking for someone with experience with the position. I guess that comes with guys like Mayhew and Hurney who have experience in the front office and they've seen a lot over their time and they're not interested in taking on, I guess, a project per se, or a guy maybe that, hasn't spent a lot of time on the position that they have seen.
Yeah. So like one of my things, that's actually one of the quotes that I deleted because I had a couple other things, and that was a really good pull because one of the things that I was looking at last week was Trey Lance and Mac Jones. I looked at them on the stream and just watched a few games, and one of the things that stood out to me with Trey Lance, but also as the week went on, Davis Mills, is that these are two guys that are lacking experience. Davis Mills been around for a few years, but he only seen the field fully for one season, and that was this past season. And especially when it comes to Trey Lance, like my thing was, and AJ, I know how you feel about him, so I definitely want to get your opinion on this, obviously. But my thing was with Trey Lance is I liked him as a developmental guy. I had questions about his ability to see the field down. I think it was 12 plus yards or down the field. I had, like, in terms of consistency, that was my main question. He's an elite runner. He's an elite playmaker in terms of being on his being a runner. Like, he's powerful. Reminds me of Cam Newton when he runs. But he's had, I think, 300 or like 350 pass attempts in his collegiate career, something like that, around that number. Mm-hmm. And that was my biggest concern when we're talking about trading up possibly for a guy like that, or just in general drafting a guy like that in the first round, knowing that they lack the experience as a passer, and then you're trying to draft him in the first round. I think that's where the pitfalls lie for not just Trey Lance, because that just happens to be this year's example in terms of first round prospects, but just in general drafting quarterbacks early or players with that little experience as something that really needs to be showcased in the pros. In the college level before going to the pros.
Yeah, I think it goes both ways, There's guys that haven't played that long that get to the NFL level and play amazing, There's guys that played all 4 years of their career and they're third-string quarterback types. So it just really depends on the type of organization that you're bringing guys into. You know, if you have the structure to teach someone. I mean, think about Patrick Mahomes being in the air raid system. That was the knock on him. You know, of course he had the starts for like 2 years, but he played in the air raid system. I think what I've watched LeBron show, The Shop or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes, he already had won a Super Bowl by then, but he said he didn't even really know how to read defenses. So
that shit was crazy. He didn't even read it. He didn't even learn until like his second or third year in the NFL. To your point.
Yeah. So it just really depends on what infrastructure you have set up for this person to succeed. You know, a lot of teams don't have that infrastructure. Prime example, Washington. They didn't have the infrastructure where Dwayne Haskins to succeed, you know, coming off with limited starts at Ohio State. So now, let's say, for example, if you do go up and get a Trey Lance, will that be different? We don't know because we haven't seen this new staff and how they work with someone of that nature. But, I mean, even if you look in the draft for next week, you got a guy like Greg Russo, defensive end at University of Miami. He's probably been playing DN for like 1.5 years, but he's going to go top 20 in the draft. You got even people that they're saying the Wusu kid from Notre Dame. He plays the Rover in college. You know, he's not used to taking on blocks and being a linebacker. So if you draft him now, are you putting him at safety or linebacker? He got to learn that. It just really depends on your coaching staff and how you can get guys prepared. But I mean, with Trey Lance, I think if you simplify, that's Kyle Shanahan's biggest strength. He can simplify a game plan for a kid and let them grow as time goes on. But if you simplify and play to their strength, their attributes, I don't see how you can't succeed. I mean, you're not going to learn nothing being on the bench. Like, you might pick up on guys' mannerisms around you, like their study habits, but you still got to go and produce on the field. Like, you take a guy like Chase Daniel, he's been in all these systems, but you put him on the field, he a bum. Like, straight up. Just, I mean, you can know something, but you still have to execute upon it. Like, we all have visions, dreams, and goals. Like, we all have business ideas, business plans, but if you never execute upon those things, what good is it? Like, that's the same thing as taking a quarterback and saying they got to sit. They don't necessarily have to sit. It's just all about how you got the setup for them to be able to do things immediately and then maybe learn as they progress in their career in the season.
Now, I agree. I don't know. Well, let me ask you all before I say that. Where do you think Ron Rivera and Scott Turner stand in respect of this conversation? AJ specifically mentioned and the aspect of having the right coaches and things like that. And that's very true, and we can tell based on how Dwayne Haskins' career started, and then obviously how to a degree because it's way more complex, but how Robert Griffin's career turned out when he was in Washington. What role or what level do you see like Rivera being able to successfully manage and tutor and develop, along with Scott Turner, obviously, because he's the offensive coordinator? But what role do you see that if you're drafting a quarterback with less experience than the bigger names out there? So let's use the Davis Mills and let's use the Trey Lances, obviously for variety. But where do you think that they fit with those two type of quarterbacks?
I mean, for me, I feel like if Ron and company decides that they want to take a chance on one of those type of quarterbacks like a Trey Lance or a Davis Mills, Ron is good. I feel like if he's going after you, he has a reason. They've done their due diligence. This isn't like regimes of the past where you just feel like they're just trying to plug in a piece and they find out later, like, shoot first, ask questions last. I think that was the Bruce Allen's, mantra.
Bruce Allen quote. Okay, I see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I think that's their mentality. They would just get guys and worry about the consequences later. Whereas I think if Ron Rivera, just being who he is, a military man, a disciplinary, he doesn't want anyone that he chooses to be a bad reflection of him. You know, I mean, he didn't choose Dwayne Haskins. He inherited Dwayne Haskins, but he gave him a chance to show who he was, and he wasn't who he was. But going forward, you look at a guy like Ron Rivera. Like I said, he wants guys. If he's going to go after a guy, you're gonna make a good example of him. So I would feel like he's gonna extend the arm to a guy that he can trust, and that guy hopefully in turns give him what he wants. Now, I think he also leans a lot on his staff, which we were talking about with Scott Turner. And Scott Turner, I feel like he's a guy that if he looks at a quarterback, he'll say, okay, Ron, I can do something with him. I can work with him, and they'll bring him along. So the question is, are we bringing these young guys along the right way? And I think with this staff, if they go after a guy, it's a guy they know they can work with, and they will give him the resources to, hopefully succeed. You know, at the end of the day, they want to be able to say, we gave this guy what we needed to give him. Now, is he going to do his part? And they want to choose guys. They think they could choose guys that would do their part and with due diligence. So,
Copy that. Also, AJ, did you have something to say about the Ron Rivera and Scott Turner situation?
No, I mean, I think it's just something we just got to see play out. Scott and Ron haven't even been together that long to even know what the case study is on that, and they haven't developed a quarterback yet for us to even, have a prerequisite of what it would be. So I mean, we just got to see what's going to happen.
That's fair. All right. For the sake of time, we do have. I had one more quote of the week. And we can briefly touch on this. In chat, obviously, for those who are watching and anybody that wants to comment, the comment is dealing with the name issue, or not the name issue, but the name process, the name change, the brand change process. If you all have any thoughts, let us know. But anyway, our quote is coming from Tom Lavero. He had a couple good quotes. The first one was, I don't have a sense of what this process is. In this process, he's speaking on the fan team name, like the polling. Other than it seems like at this point he doesn't think that they're using the material that they get from something like that poll for any meaningful selection process. However, he believes that there's a group of the fan base out there eating it up. So from that quote alone, it kind of stood out to me because I felt like this was something worth paying attention to, because the names on those polls, some of those were like deliberately stupid. just to put it out there, like it was really bad, man. And I kind of understood the strategy early on. I didn't connect all the dots, but I figured in my head, I was like, okay, obviously they're not sending every single same poll out to every other individual. They're sending multiple polls out to random individuals that fit the criteria to poll vote. But clearly, like, there's an intention here. So where are you all at with this name change process? Are y'all like, do y'all have any input in terms of how they're handling it or anything, or is it's whatever?
I mean, for me, like I tweeted out last week, I honestly don't care, as far as, I guess I'll put my don't care meter somewhere around 75 out of the 100 scale. It's just because it's like, I'm going to eventually adjust to any name they come to terms with. But as far as the process and how they're doing it, that's cool to make it. I kind of get what Tom Lavero was saying. I don't agree with Tom Lavero a lot, but I kind of agree that, they're just putting it out there as fan service. But at the same time, that's what you have to do to make the fans feel included in a process like this, where a lot of fans were so attached to the Redskins name. Those type of fans, even the younger fans, everyone wants to feel included in some kind of way, So, you got the younger fans that are like Red Wolves, and you got the older fans. It's like, oh, we'll keep it something traditional. So they want to feel like they're being inclusive. But as far as the name change, I was so they did like 5 or 6 different polls, and each of the polls all had different names, so none of the names were on the same poll. I felt like that was strategic in a sense, because they probably got about 4 or 5 names right now that they're down to, and they want to see what the public thinks about it. So, it's cool for the people who are super into that.
AJ, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess Tom Lavero, you said.
Yes, sir,
Yeah,
Tom.
Tyler, bro.
Yeah, I mean he's old and washed. He don't know any better. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, they put that out there to get analytics on. That was not just to put out there and just do whatever with. That was to see what people might gravitate towards. Like, I mean, I know they hired a big time agency to help with this name change and things of that nature. And another thing, like these people aren't from the Washington D.C. metropolitan area either, so they don't really know. They don't know the culture of the city necessarily. Like they could read up on the team, but they don't really know what that team means to the fans itself. So, with the name change process, I feel like none of this stuff really matters. As long as you win games, that's all that matters. I think I tweeted about that when I seen the poll last week. Like team could be Buffalo, but Washington Buffalo butts. I mean, as long as they win these damn games and competing for a Super Bowl, I don't think the fans personally care. I mean, just look at this year alone. They called Washington football team, but people were so elated with the fact that they made it to the playoffs. You know, people didn't really care about. Of course, they were mad that the team name got changed, but all in all, when it was January and they were able to watch their team on a Saturday compete in a playoff game, I don't think the team name really mattered.
What's crazy is like when you mentioned about the people forgetting about the team name because they made the playoffs. It's so random, but I came across a dude like yesterday or maybe 2 days ago when they were talking about the polling, and it was this dude so mad that they changed the name, that they changed it. Like it's already happened, but you're still upset that they changed the fucking name. And I'm like, bro, it's almost a year since this process has happened. Like, how do you have the energy to get online and just tweet away to every single person talking about the Washington football team to say, "Oh, you mean Redskins? Oh, we still around." I don't understand how you had the energy to keep doing it, but it's kind of crazy. I do agree. At the end of the day, it's all about winning. But I also think that people who, this is just a reminder, people who are just talking about the process itself and why it's taking so long, I think there's a lot of things that go into it. And AJ mentioned the analytics side of it. Obviously they're trying to gather data, and that's the most important thing with certain things with including the fan base. This is a part of that 12 to 18 month rebrand, or however much time he said it takes. Like, this is a part of that. This is what we're witnessing. So people can say that they're rushing this, but I just completely disagree. I think that they're doing the right thing. I just feel like, especially with another quote that we don't have to necessarily get into, but Lavero mentioned that he feel like they already have a name already, but they're doing the fan service. I think it really just comes down to what Dre said, which is they have like 4 or 5, but they're hoping that the polling and stuff gravitates towards 2 of those, and then they just pick 2 or 3 of those and go from there. I don't know. That's just where I'm at with it.
I mean, just to quickly chime in, I believe they don't have a name yet. And the reason why I say that, you have people out here that search the patent and trademarks with the USPTO every day, right? In order for them to utilize that name, they would have to file with the USPTO before they can do it. So we're gonna know what that name is and what they're working on before the Washington team ever announces it, because someone is gonna leak that information. It's public information, anyways. So I think it's probably coming down soon to them filing for the name so that they can use it for merchandising and all those things. But I mean, I think we'll probably know here soon.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and all that quick conversation about the name change. Just put that in the bag for now until we hear some more news. But obviously O mentioned Omatic's DCFC or Stay Washington football team. I actually heard a few people say Stay Washington football team. It's grown on quite a few people. So with that being said, I don't think you're alone, O, on that in that regard. And then Zacy Zacy mentioned, as long as it's not hogs related, I'm cool. Which I'm fine too. I don't need no warthogs. I don't need none of that stuff. Cool with me. Warthogs, no. We're done with that. Also, I don't know about. I'm sorry. I still don't know about Red Wolves. I'm not sold on that. I'm just gonna be completely honest. I'm not sold on Red Wolves. But it's
What
literally,
about demon cats?
oh my god, demon cats. Demon cats. Well, whoever decided to put that on the list of names for it to be polled on, they did a really good job of grabbing everybody's attention. Say that.
I feel like that was a joke. I feel like they just added that for joking purposes. Like no one's gonna pick this.
What if people? That's vicious because I really imagine there were some people out there that's like, you know what? This is a chance for them to be unique, stand out. I'm going to vote for Demon Cats. We're going to do it. All right. So look, we're going to go ahead and get Clinton on the line. Give us 2 seconds, y'all, and then we will pop right back in here with Clinton, and we can talk some more skins ball, some more, well, not some more, but his time with Washington, obviously, the outlook on the draft and stuff like that. So give us a couple seconds. We'll get Clinton on the line and be right back.
Haven't gotten to that point yet. But the way you just said you're not a golfer, most people will be like, yeah, man, I golf. They're not golfers either. They be lying. Like, they be lying about that shit all the time. You know what I mean? That shit hard. This ain't no easy game to pick up, so you got to have time on your hand. Yeah, man, this shit ain't easy. Like, if you ever watch professional golf on TV, you see them make mistakes and never recover. So imagine what the average golfer go through. You know, the person who's trying to learn the game. I got some partners who say, oh, man, you know, I really play golf. And then when I'm watching them, I'm like, man, you be out here wasting your time and money, you know, so it is
out
what
here
it
trying to
is.
stay away from the house and wifey.
That's really
Buying
what it
themselves
be.
some time. Look,
That's really what it be.
the most I've ever spent time at was Top Golf, bro, and I played like ass over there, so I can't imagine what it looked like at the golf range, bro. That's just probably even worse.
Yeah, imagine having to go stick your hand in them bushes on a little snake or a gator over there.
Yeah, that
That's
ain't.
Florida.
I'm about to say that ain't it for me, buddy. The first time I see a snake is the last time I go to a golf course. I tell you that much. I'm not playing. Or alligator, bro. I seen somebody at the at a golf, like they got in the water, took their shoes off. Where alligator, I don't know who the golfer was. I can't remember, but he stuck his foot in there with no fear. Where alligator just was, bro. Just to swing the golf club. I couldn't do it. I don't know.
Man, Florida is the Australia of the United States.
Man,
That
they
is
in
true.
more than just Florida. They in more than just Florida.
Louisiana?
You got Louisiana, Mississippi.
Most of the places that you got water on the course, you don't know what's off in there. It's a moccasin or something coming through there.
Oh my
But you don't want no parts of.
Hey, so Clinton, man, obviously I mentioned earlier that you are like a OG to this point, and the reason why I had to emphasize that is because there's a section of the fan base who actually grew up watching the teams that you played on for the Washington, I guess the Redskins back then. I can say it, but the Skins back then, they grew up watching you play. So like, I don't know if it even means anything to you, but how does that OG title make you feel to know that there's plenty of people who, even when you're on the radio, sometimes people call you and be like, hey man, appreciate the time that you've given us. They do the same thing with D Hall, Santana, all that type of things. Like, how does that OG title make you feel to know that you had made an imprint into this fan base and things like that?
Oh, that's what make you feel. Oh, you know, you used to look at the guys like B. Mitch and Doc Walker, you know, you Sonny Jurgensen's, and you be like, man, they played and they was a part of historic teams, and all of a sudden, you know, we didn't have any history. I think we brought a different energy to the city, and you know, just having the luxury of playing with Sean T and playing with Santana, myself, Marcus, Chris Samuel. I think the guys, you know, Smoot, those guys that was in that community meant so much. You know, even the unsung heroes, the Mike Sellers, the Rock Cartwrights, the Kerry Campbells, you know, the list goes on. The people that was just embedded in the community and that meant well or did well. And then you have those guys that didn't do shit there that the community can't stand. So everybody came in. You know, the guys that during my term, you know, the LeVar Arringtons of the world that was everything community that participated, that was around the change, you know, the change to to Dan and everything that had to go along with it. I think it was '05 or something. I just remember we had the city on fire,
Yeah, for sure.
and the Wizards was good. Just the sports period at that time, it was a memorable. It seemed like it was a longer run, but it was really like '05. '04, I think we showed some signs. '05, we had an opportunity. '06, kind of shuffleboard, got injured. '07, we had another opportunity, and then I think everything with Sean just embedded us in the community. But just for that short period, in what the guys that was in that town, Karan Butler, Gilbert Arenas, Sean Stevenson. When you look at the imprint that the sports world left on the city of DC at that time,
Yep.
it was just a different vibe.
For sure. And I heard you just mention the '06 year. Obviously injuries took a place in how I guess competitive you were each and every week. But '05 and '07 was really special, right? And for the obvious reasons. But what seasons when you were here? Obviously, you was here for 7 years in Washington. But what seasons leading up to a season? It can be anywhere between '04 and 2010. But what seasons leading up to week one did you think was your best chance to make a deep playoff run? That's the first question, and I guess I'll hold off on the second part. But yeah, what year was that for you? Or if it was multiple years, what years was that for you?
Well, I think '04, when you brought in Marcus Washington, Sean Springs, Brunel, it was like a change of guard. Something was brewing. And '05, everything kind of came together. Um, Everything came together in '05, and, it was like we were dead and just came back to life. I think we went on a 7 or 8 game win streak, which energized the city and brought something different now. And that just brought a brotherhood. If you were in the locker room, it was so many different crews and cliques, but people could never tell. Like if we were out in public, you could never tell. And I think that was the beauty of it because it was like a brotherhood. It was big brother, little brother in the locker room where we spar and we argue and maybe even fight. But once we got out in public, it was like, man, let's pull this shit together and have a good time. And then once you got on the field, you were able to kind of trust each other and believe in each other. And then '07 was special because everyone had to come together due to the death of Sean. So going into '08, bro, I felt like with Coach Gibbs leaving, the change of guard, everything. I think we started off like 6-2. Going into '08, we
Oh yeah.
the team still had that connection and that bond from Sean before that was interrupted. And then, I think the realization from '05 to '08, it was like you give your all. You give your all to an organization, you give your all to a city, you leave it on the field. Like every game, if you look at that time, I think once a year, maybe we were in a blowout or something. But every week was competitive. Every game was come down to the last possession, and you just had hard-nosed football players. And then all of a sudden, you come to the realization, like for me, I think it kind of clicked when they removed Sean's jersey from the locker room and took it to the stadium, which I think is a great idea now. But at that time, and when they moved that locker and they put Jamal Brown, nothing to Jamal Brown. I think he good teammate, good guy, but they replaced Sean Taylor locker with Jamal Brown, and it was like so many lockers in that locker room or so much space where you could have just added a locker, and I think that just gave you that mentality, like, man, you're replaceable. Like you're like Sean,
Yeah.
Sean locker, and it just was like that same I'll run through a brick wall or I'll jump off, run through a fire or a burning building or whatever. The notion that you would like to say, it just wasn't there. It was that, like, damn, man, like, you just replaced me. That was the first time that I
Go ahead.
really felt like the real business of football. And then that's different because when you're playing and you have that mentality, or you have that HUTR, like, when you feel like this, like, I'll die for this. It's got how you look at gangs, Bloods and Crips. You like, what they fight for? Colors,
Yeah.
like, they fight for a neighborhood or some land that's not theirs. That's kind of what happened, and you realize you're replaceable, and just a lot came about, and I think it just changed the situation. Because honestly, I think if you would have kept everything the same after that '05 season, I think '06 would have been our year. And I got hurt in the preseason. We changed coordinators. We changed so much, and we did need to change. The one year that we didn't need to change, maybe you just add something, was after the '05 season. I think we had an opportunity to add some key players. I think Bart Scott and Ratliff, and we, I think we added the safety. What was the safety name from the Rams?
From the Rams, yeah.
Archuleta, Adam
Yeah, Adam
Archuleta.
Archuleta.
Archuleta, man. I think we added Archuleta. Like, it was just one of those situations where you didn't need to make that move, and we let Ryan Clark go. We let pieces go that we really should have kept, and we added pieces that we didn't need, and it changed the chemistry in the locker room. And then we changed offensive coordinators, and we had to get used to a new system. Like, every year we changed OCs, and every year we endured change, and you didn't really need all of that change after '05.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great thing that you're bringing up, Clinton, that a lot of fans and people that may not be around that industry, the sports industry, but it's important, the continuity of an organization and the locker room and the brotherhood. If you look around professional leagues, the teams that end up winning championships and competing for championships, they typically have in common continuity and brotherhood and chemistry. And it just seems like, unfortunately, the decision makers at the time of your tenure with the team, they didn't really have a good grasp of who were those glues to, keeping things in order in the locker room and the brotherhood, such as a Ryan Clark, such as other pieces, So, like, I just want you to kind of tell us, like, how many times, like, teams, like, forget that element of sports. Like, did you ever have any of the executives, like, ask you, like, who's a guy that we should keep, we must keep, and they completely derive from the whole plan that you may have illustrated to them? Because in my eyes and most of our eyes, you were the franchise player during your tenure here with the Washington football team.
Oh man, for me, I think I was in the air. I tried to keep Ryan Clark. I think we drafted LaRon, and they brought in Adam, and then Adam didn't work, so they drafted LaRon. But I think we should have kept Ryan Clark. We should have kept Antonio Pierce, um, Robert Royal. Like, these were key figures on the team, like, important pieces to the puzzle. And then all of a sudden, Smoot, we lost Smoot, Clark, Royal, AP, LeVar. Like, we started losing people that meant something in the locker room. And then when you replace them with someone, Adam Marshall, that people wanted Ryan Clark. It's nothing against Adam. It's just people wanted Ryan Clark. And you look at how Ryan Clark turned down and how Ryan Clark finished his career in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you had Robert Royal went to Buffalo, to Buffalo. Just key pieces that meant something in the locker room that people bonded with had to leave and go elsewhere. Smooth. They went elsewhere and came back, but you know, you never should have
And
lost
left in the
those guys.
first place. Yep.
And yeah, you never should have lost those guys. And uh, I think all organizations in all of sports should at least let players have input. If you look at Russell Wilson and his aggravation with Seattle, or you look at Aaron Rodgers and his aggravation with Green Bay, like get me a receiver, like get me some help, or
Right.
Russell Wilson, like get me an offensive line, get me a
Block.
running back, like
Shit.
give me something, like just listen to me and let me get one pick. I think for myself, being able to get the organization's ear to draft Sean because they were stuck on Kellen Winslow, being able to trade for Santana. Once Lavernius told me he was ready to lead, um, having input in those decisions where I was at it, like I call Coach Gibbs, I call Vinny, I call Dan, shit, I call Miss BJ. I'm talking anybody who will answer the phone to say, let's make sure we get these people, like these are the people we need.
Yeah. No, I respect that, man. I think hopefully more organizations learn to listen to their players and not treat them like robots. I mean,
Well,
they have a better pulse on what's going
I
on.
think if organizations would listen to their players, the temperature in locker rooms, you see the Houston Rockets lose James Harden. Like, bro, that man was the city. That man was Houston. You see OKC lose Russell Westbrook, and after you lose KD, like you don't. Who gets the luxury of having KD, Harden, and Westbrook? Like you
Yeah.
drafted these people, Serge Ibaka, but you bring in Kendrick Perkins, and you sign Serge Ibaka, so you lose James Harden, and eventually KD is gone. Like you can't mess up that chemistry. It's hard to get back. Like it's hard to recover when you have something so good. I think the people in the front office feel like, well, I did it, so I could do it again. But you don't have that kind of talent. Like those are staples in the NBA. Those are faces. Like all three of those names are top seven in the NBA.
Yeah.
Top seven All-Star games. Rings. Like you just unbelievable. Russell Westbrook, triple double.
Yep.
Harden can give you 50 a night. KD, one of the sharpshooters. Like you don't get that, man, and then you lose it when you let it go. When you mess up that chemistry, it's just one of them situations. You be like, damn, man, like y'all messed this up.
For sure, man. I think one of the like you already stated it, and both you and AJ stated it. I think one of the things back then is sometimes now my question in my head would be like how many people in terms of the roster and the players were fighting for trying to keep that continuity. Not necessarily saying it was one side or the other, but like I would just be curious because that would be interesting to see like how a team can just frankly kind of just go over the opinions of what the players felt. Like that's kind of weird in my sense. Obviously, I'm not knee deep into like how the workings of an NFL is, but that's just interesting to see. Like there are players out there fighting to try and keep a team's continuity together, and there's other players that's probably alongside you, for example, who was vocal about these decisions, and somehow, in some way, they're like, nah, we'll let
Well,
these guys go,
I
and we'll get the guys that we wanted in.
well, I don't think a lot of people, get into the business of it. A lot of people worry about themselves. Like, hey, man, I'm trying to make the team, so I can't worry about if this dude's gonna be here. So a lot of people are afraid of those situations. I ain't never been worried about it. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like a good teammate is a good teammate, man. Like I don't give a damn who you bring in. When it comes down to, hey, it's gonna be competitive and the best man gonna win. I'm all for the competition. Like I love to compete. If you look at the guys that they brought in as running backs through my tenure, the closest locker room, I mean the closest position group we had was Liddell Betts, Rock Cartwright, Mike Sellers, myself, Ernest Biner. Like, that was a real brotherhood. We argue, we talk crazy to each other, but when it's time to step on the field, Liddell got my back, Rock got my back, Mike got it, EB got it. You know what I mean? EB gonna go to bat behind closed doors, whatever. That's what you want. I don't. You look at all the other guys they brought in. They brought in Larry Johnson. They brought in Sean Alexander.
Sean
Yeah.
Alexander.
The tiptoe burglar.
Uh,
I was just talking about him the other day.
TJ Duckett. Like, bro, they brought in so many different running backs for the competition, which was
Yep.
cool, but I wasn't never sweating that shit. Like, oh, what's up, man? Like, you gonna be second on the depth chart. Like, I ain't even know. I'm gonna go do what I do, and then you come in. Like,
And plus, you came from University of Miami, where you had what? Willis McGahee, Edrin James, Najee Davenport.
You had real gangsters. You can't get that kind of competition. Because I had real gangsters. You know, you're looking at Frankie G, who top 3 rushers all time. A young Frankie G.
He's still playing.
Still in the league.
I knew Frankie G was a gangster in high school. Like, we was going to high school to watch Frankie. When Andre Johnson, like, bro, we had so much talent. It was like, when you got into the league, it was kind of like a step back. You know, you're looking around like, oh man, we would have dogged them. Like, we would have dogged this team because you can't fill an NFL roster out with those guys, you know. And then having a real OG in edge, like having someone that you could bounce anything off of, having someone that was smart, that was book smart, street smart, like don't always, you know, give you the put you in the right situation, you know, like. It was different because in locker rooms you don't have those guys. In locker rooms, guys don't talk, guys don't open up. Like, you see dudes on the field, you know, but you don't really be going to these dudes' houses and XYZ and knowing what they got going on.
So
yeah, but that's where I get Ma. Let me ask this real quick, because I mean, Clinton, I know how close you and Edrin James is. You know, with him making the Hall of Fame this year. You know, have you given any thought of your process of possibly making the Hall of Fame over the coming years? Like, have you put any thought behind that?
Man, you know, like I don't sit up at night thinking about what, you know, you got to convince somebody. I think when you look at numbers, my numbers speak for themselves. You know, to see EJ go in, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I got a real brother that's Hall of Fame, and everybody say, well, you should have got 10,000 yards, and you should have did this, and you should have did that. Like, all of that stuff was in my reach, and like I said, the love for the game disappeared, and I felt like I would be cheating the game to stay and try to play for numbers. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm sticking around just to get these numbers, but I don't care no more. I feel like that's cheating my teammates. That's cheating my fans. Like, I wanted to go out with you knowing, like, I'm going to lay it on the line. I want to go out with you thinking, you know what, man, CP actually got hurt in a preseason game for making a tackle on the interception that nobody would have gave a fuck about anyway. You know, like, remember that. Remember landing on the line, or, you know, like, that's the stuff that I want you to remember. Whether it's in my book, in my eyes, I know I changed the running back position. You know, like, it wasn't no 26s before me. You know, you had Robert Smith. Nobody remember Robert Smith. He was a hell of a running back, but nobody remember Robert Smith. Me and Deuce McAllister came out with 26 at the same time. Me, Deuce, Robert Smith, like, those were the 26s. Now you look, every back 26. You know, I smile because I know I had to start that. 28 was the number back then. Marshall Faulk was in 28. Curtis Martin was in 28. Corey Dillon was in 28. Like, them some bad men. Fred Taylor was in
Fred Taylor.
28. And then all of a sudden, it switched from 28 to 26.
Hey, Clinton, this is Dre here, and I had to ask you because I'm a Washingtonian all my life, been here, Redskin fan all my life. I remember the day you got traded for by Joe Gibbs, and I said to myself, I said, Joe Gibbs got his running back. And Joe Gibbs is like a deity to us around here as, longtime Washington fans.
Yep.
And I want to know, what was it like for you playing for Joe Gibbs? Is this something you can distinguish for him from the rest of the coaches you played for in your life?
Man, yeah, Coach Gibbs a god. Like Coach Gibbs is a real god. He's probably the most humble individual, a real champion, a real winner, a man, that lead other men. A man that get other men to buy in and is not one of those. Everybody. Oh man, I'm a Christian. I'm faith driven. I'm XYZ. That's Coach Gibbs. That's really Coach Gibbs. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Um, and he's just one of a kind. His heart pure, his energy is unreal. You could talk to him if you were having a conversation with him. You would never know that he's won anything. And he always has God first. He's always uh, pulling for you. Like you don't get that. I was blessed my entire career, but to have the luxury of playing for Coach Gibbs, man, like that was just one of those. You looking at, you end up being cool with their granddad. Like that's how Coach Gibbs was. Like Coach Gibbs, that granddad that's gonna love on you, that's gonna make sure you right, that's gonna put you in position, and all he wants you to do is give your best. Whatever your best is, give me that. Give me that. All
Now, no,
time.
hey, no, Clinton. I had to ask about Joe Gibbs. Have you ever seen him mad before? Has he ever been that before? I've never seen him mad.
What? I seen him, man. I done pissed him off before.
That's
So, so on my birthday, every year I used to have a big birthday party. But every year it was always the last preseason game. My birthday is September 1st. It was always the last preseason.
Hey, Clint, we losing you a little bit over there.
And transitioning into the week before, I'm having a huge party, but a lot of the teammates can't come or get released before the party. The mood just not there. Some people like, damn, I want to come out and might release me tomorrow. So my birthday always fall on. That's not that's like one of them days I ain't never been worried about. I never was getting released. So, most of the time we would have to come in and work out. Like you got to come in and run or come in and watch film. Try to get an early start on whoever you're playing week one. And the two or three times that I was ever late or missed practice was always my birthday party. And one more, like, bro, I set my alarm clock. I set my alarm clock the day before. I set my alarm knowing, hey, I'm getting up and I'm getting up early.
yeah, okay.
And I'll be damned.
Until
If
that
I'm
Henny hit
laying
the
in
system.
bed and I'm laying in bed and all I can hear is my ringer is off. Like
To-
I never have my this because to get my and the number to the facility, and I'm just like, oh damn. I look at the window, right? I look at my window and it's daylight. outside. And I'm like, I can't believe I did this. So and it was like, hold on, coach wants.
Boy, Skype is letting us down right now.
And I'm like, I set my alarm. Like, you point at it like, look, it's p.m. instead of, you hear me?
Yeah, so it's just the Skype connectivity. That's all. It goes in and out. But it ain't like you're fine sometimes, but it's really nothing on your end. Nothing we can do.
What about now?
You sound good. You sound good.
Oh, all right. So where did I cut off at?
You
was looking out the window. It was daylight.
Yep.
Oh, so I'm looking out the window, and I'm like, bro, I set my alarm for 6 a.m. and I look at the phone, and it's at 6 p.m. And when a coach get on the phone, you can hear the tremble in his voice. Like, you could actually hear the tremble in his voice. He was shaking. Like, he's like, Clint! And I was like, man, I set my alarm. Like, and he was like, get in here. So I got, mind you, I stay in McLean. So now I have to go from McLean to, I got to go to practice. So the whole drive, I'm thinking, I can't believe this happened. So I make it to the facility. And when I get to the facility, everyone is gone. I go in to Coach Gibbs. He throw up his hands and say, if you're going to be a leader, you can't do this. Guys are depending on you, and I need you here. And his bottom lip was shaking, and he sent me back home. Like, I had to go all the way to the facility for him to tell me, like, I need you. And I felt like, man, damn, I let Coach Gibbs down. Like, I let Coach Gibbs down out of all people. And just from the tremble, he didn't curse, he didn't raise his voice. It was just that clear. And I felt like I had got a whooping. Like, man, I broke Coach Gibbs' heart. Like, and I'm like, hey, Coach, it's my.
Hey, CP, I gotta ask you, how much did you get fined that day?
I don't even think I got fined. I don't even think.
Wow.
You just wanted the disappointment to hit you. It was like your parents having that talk with you.
It wasn't even the fine. And if I did get fined, it just was like one of those unnoticeable because my birthday was wide open anyway. So I just chalked
the swiping.
So
it up like on the B-Day party. So it ain't even.
So Clinton, well, first off, chat for everybody that's still in here. If you all wanted to ask Clinton a question, obviously send them to the chat. We can take a look at them. Obviously, ask Clinton why he's still on. I appreciate your time, Clinton, because you're very generous with what you're doing right now. Anyway, with that being said, we did have somebody who did comment. They just wanted to. Obviously, it's very near and dear to a lot of people's heart. They're just asking for Sean Taylor's story. If it's possible that you had one on the tip of your tongue that you may wanted to get out there for the fans, Sean Taylor's story that may have not been told just yet.
Oh man, it's hard to say. A lot of stuff that I done with Sean just in those. You know how you just lock something up, like, man, this our moment or this was our time. So it's pointless for me. It's not selfish of me to not even want to share. So that's how a lot of the stories with Sean ended up, but one.
Oh, you got disconnected, but that's cool. Because
that might be a good thing, so we can restart this connection.
Yes, and for what it's worth, man, if that is the end of Clinton on today's show, obviously if he's able to join back, that works. We can continue the conversation. But if that is the end for Clinton on today's show, we truly appreciate him for joining, man. And it was a great time for it, because he gave us far more than what we anticipated, AJ. And he stayed with us and chopped it up with us for a long time. So if there's a possibility to get him on, y'all, later down the road, if he does end up joining back, then obviously we'll try and work that so we can talk a little bit more present day Washington football team, man. And obviously, if you guys got something that y'all want to ask him in the near future, just let us know. And obviously, we'll put it out there. If he's coming back on, you let us know. We talk to him, get your opinion on anything that's going on with current Washington football team, man. So again, appreciate you, Clinton, for joining us. If you do end up checking this out, that's all right. Where are we at? I think we're at an hour and a half. That's vicious. Hour and a half, man. We can go ahead and skip to the third segment, and just wrap this show up. The third segment is the Washington Football Spotlight. We're highlighting anything or anyone that caught our eye in the week that was the Washington football community. It can be an article, a video, Twitter account, etc. It doesn't matter. So the first thing that I had in my spotlight, it's kind of a reoccurring topic, fellas, you know. But I love hearing you guys' thoughts on certain players. So there was an article. Where is it at? Where is? Here it is. An article from Yahoo Sports. It was actually a feature from. It was showcasing the Washington Wire. Brian Manning wrote this on April 18th. Excuse me. So this past Sunday, mentioning that Washington should bring Ryan Kerrigan back soon. That's the headline. He obviously, wrote his reasons for why Ryan Kerrigan should be coming back. But my question to you all is, should Washington or will Washington be missing Ryan Kerrigan if he doesn't come back? Is that a need? Hey, look, somebody talk to us.
All right, I mean, for me, no, I always had, my opinions about Ryan Kerrigan. I've said what I said, but I've always been real about Ryan Kerrigan, and that's he's not a star. And people don't like to hear that. A lot of hardcore fans don't like to hear, oh, Ryan Kerrigan's not a star. However, I am completely fine with bringing Ryan Kerrigan back on this team in the role that he played last year. However, from what I understand, that's not the role that Ryan Kerrigan saw himself in moving forward. We've heard multiple stories throughout the season that Ryan Kerrigan still sees himself as a starter and not a spot rotation guy, which I'm completely at this point in his career and where he's at, he's completely fine for me as a spot rotational guy. But if that's not what he wants, he can move on. But if he goes out there and realizes no one else sees him as the starter that he thinks he is, I'm completely fine with bringing Ryan Kerrigan back, and I hope he comes back in that role.
Let's hear it, AJ.
For me, you know what? I probably got a little bit of a change of heart just because, having Clinton on and speaking about the locker room, the continuity, and the chemistry. I represented several players that had played with Ryan, also good friends with Ryan's agent and things of that nature. And he gets along well with the people in the locker room, He may not be going out and partying and things of that nature, but as far as in the locker room, he's good to the guys. He teaches them different things. People look at him for, workouts, different tips, pass rush moves, different things of that nature. So sometimes you need to have that veteran presence within your defense. I think right now, Washington really doesn't have a veteran presence on that defensive side of the ball. I mean, maybe you could say Landon Collins, but, he's fighting to get back from Achilles. You got Kendall Fuller. Some people might say that just because he won the Super Bowl, but Kendall's not really that much of an outspoken person. Maybe you need that veteran presence, but it just really boils down to, is Ryan going to be comfortable with being a situational player? And from my knowledge, he's not comfortable with that. But, that may change. Guys like him, the lower tier free agents, they won't really start getting signed until after the draft. So you really don't know. But I think if it were me making the decision for the team, I think I would try to look for another pass rusher that complements, what Montez and Chase bring to the table on the outside. just because it's such a different skill set that Ryan has than what they currently have on their roster at pass rusher. And I just don't think it meshes well with what they really want to do. But it's like they couldn't get rid of Ryan during the season. Or maybe they could have, but they didn't make that move to get a pick or something of that nature. But I don't know. I'm on the fence. I think I'll say I wouldn't I wouldn't bring him back.
Hey,
I
look, that's
wouldn't bring him
perfect.
back.
That's perfectly fine. So Sports Only Talk mentioned that we definitely need a backup pass rusher. In his opinion, HBK is a lifer, man. Don't want to see him go. He too old to not be spot rotation. Come back, Ryan. Well, I hate to break it to you all, but before he left or cleaned out his locker room for the 2020 season, man. I saw pictures and videos of him moving around in a walker, bro. Like he was, what I'm saying? He's an old man. Yeah, for sure. He was out there in the walker just pushing along, I guess he kind of figured he was getting up there in age, he kind of needs like that little what's that little oil to get his knees and stuff going and active and stuff. So
the WD-40.
Yeah, the WD. I was about to say I knew WD-40, bro. He needed that stuff to get him going, man. But yeah, I'm not dealing with Ryan Kerrigan. I'll be perfectly fine if we moved on from him. I understand the sentiment. I just feel like, what is he contributing? Like that, just point blank. I'm just being point blank honest. What will he be contributing? He gave you that the 2 sacks to start the season, and then after that, or 4 sacks to start the season. 2 in the first game, but after that, he was just gone. From a production standpoint and how he looked on the field, he wasn't necessarily that athletic anymore, and it kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. So I don't know if we're going to be missing anything when it comes to Kerrigan, y'all.
Yeah, because the ball's coming out so quick these days. Like when Ryan first got in the league, quarterbacks were holding on to the ball a little bit longer. But with the ball coming out this quick, nowadays you need a Chase Young, Montez Sweat type of DN. Like you can't win on the outside with a guy like Kerrigan at this point, unless your secondary really gonna hold up for a long, long time.
For sure. Who is our backup pass rushers? Even Sports Only Talk asked. Brailford. Shoots, that is an excellent question. Oh my goodness, who is the backups? We got Jordan Brailford on the edge. The other people that we signed, that we had.
That's all I remember right now.
Yeah.
Were they using Caleb Brantley as
Was he DT or?
Yeah, I thought he was a defensive tackle. They got me looking at the roster. That's crazy. I thought I was ready for that type of question. Oh my goodness, who was the defensive ends?
Now I'm looking myself. James Smith Williams, the cat from NC State. We got in last year's draft, I think it was. But we don't know. We haven't seen it too much with him. And the other guys, he's a journeyman, Casey Toohill. But that's no one you will count on. He's no one you're gonna rely on as a backup pass rusher. But
I think Brailford went to the Vikings from what Sports Only said. So Brailford may not even be on the team no more. That's vicious. I think I hate to admit it, but if we could, what I'm saying, I'd be okay with a little Kerrigan, the vet minimum, you know what I'm saying? But it ain't my money. If they want to bring him back, go ahead. I ain't realized we ain't had nobody. We ain't got nobody. So
yeah, no, you can bring. That's why I said if Kerrigan is fine with being a spot rotation guy in the defensive line, I'm perfectly fine with bringing him back because like AJ said, you got Montez Sweat and Chase Young. They do a certain thing. They're speed rushes off the edge, but Chase can do a little bit of both. But Ryan Kerrigan is a one-trick pony as a pass rusher. He's a bull rusher, and he gets by off for persistency. He's done that since his Purdue days. But that's fine. That's a change of pace. But again, you need 4 pass rushers. You don't just have 3 pass rushers because the defensive line rotates so much. So you're going to need somebody else other than Kerrigan, maybe that can be a speed rusher as well, with Kerrigan being your bull rusher backup.
Yeah, for sure. And so, with that being said, knowing that I just looked at the roster, I'm cool with bringing back Kerrigan. If he wants to come back, ain't no way in hell he should be expecting anything more than a backup deal or a backup spot. So he better come to grips with that. And for 75% of the teams out there in the NFL. Not being mean, just keeping it a buck.
No, it's real. It's realistic. That's the thing.
And then we can close it out with these last two players. Alex Smith, obviously, retired this week. Today is Tuesday, so I think it was yesterday where he retired. And Jordan Reid, I believe, retired today. Maybe Alex Smith retired Sunday and Jordan Reid retired yesterday. Either way, both players retired this week. And obviously, Jordan Reid had a lasting impact for what could have been when he was here as a Washington Redskin at the time. And then Alex Smith, he leaves somewhat of a legacy for what he went through. And my question to you all, first thing being, Alex Smith is like, we don't have to talk down on him. That's we know. Well, we all have our opinions. I personally, this 6-4 was a record, but he wasn't necessarily producing that greatly. Whatever, doesn't matter. Still had to say it anyway. What is that one intangible or tangible thing that Smith did bring to the Washington football team? Because clearly they were still winning football games with him as the starter. What was that one tangible or intangible thing that Smith brought to the team while he was here for those 3 years?
For me,
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say for me, just professionalism. He brought that to the position. I mean, it was a guy where he set an example for the rest of the guys, and not only on his position group, but for the roster. He was one of those guys you talk about that get in the office at 6 a.m. and leave at a certain time or whatever. And that means a lot to a lot of, the guys under him, the guys learning from him. I mean, you heard even Chase Young talks highly of Alex Smith all the time. I mean, that resonates throughout the whole entire roster. And that's just not what he brings on the field. It's just the professionalism he brought to the position, which was welcome in a culture like Washington. They needed that. They needed a guy like Alex Smith to kind of be the guy that shined in a sea of shit. So, that was, I felt like that's what Alex Smith
never heard that saying.
Man, I ain't hear it either, bro. That's the first time. Caught me on guard.
Hey, brother, you said
say that again.
I said, brother, you shine in a sea of shit. That's what Alex Smith did here, as far as his professionalism. So that was very much welcome, and I appreciate him for bringing that here.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that. I think the leadership, the professionalism, because, I mean, this is now your job, your career, You got to go about it a certain way, and Alex handled it well. Getting replaced by Kaepernick in San Francisco, being the guy in Kansas City, getting replaced by Mahomes. He never let that, deter his mentality and how he would go about treating his teammates and the job at hand. Like, he was always willing to lend a hand. I think that's the one thing you can speak about with his tenure in Washington and just overall in his career. Like, no matter what obstacles he went through, he always remained the same and was always willing to put the team first.
For sure. I think for me, and I'll be quick with mine because you all touched on the things that kind of encompasses my opinion, but it's more so just like his leadership. Like, he set the example of how to be a professional, like Dre mentioned, and he did it every single day at work. He kind of showed people the blueprint that was on the team of how to become a winner. And whether or not, Alex Smith was that person on the field who was going to throw that 300-yard, 4-touchdown game, which was very rare and didn't really happen often. He can show you other ways to get a job done. And it took the whole team to kind of rally around the position, but at the same time, he'll make sure that he does his job, and that's just, I'm not going to turn the ball over. Now, no matter how frustrating it was, I'm not going to do no revisionist history. No matter how frustrating it was, he showed you a way to get a job done. And I mean, salute to him. But at the end of the day, like, there was like a limitation to that blueprint, but at the same time, like, you can't name a lot. Like, I guess in his era, you can't name many quarterbacks who who won as many games as him and lasted this long in the league prior to his injury. It's just the facts, but it is what it is, man. Salute to Alex. And lastly, Jordan Reid. Man. Jordan Reid ended up retiring from the NFL, obviously, due to his issues from concussions. John Conn wrote about this earlier today, I think, in the morning time. The quotes that he mentioned was, he was pretty sure that he was going to keep playing. He was feeling good about where he was at. And then he ended up going to Orlando's Plasticity Center for a brain scan in the late winter. And based on those results, Khan mentioned that it was recommended that he retired. So he had some lingering effects, and that's when he ended up seeking out the professional help to get it diagnosed. He agreed at that point that it was obviously time to retire. So obviously, if you had any quick thoughts on Jordan Reid before we close out, we can go ahead and speak on Jordan and go from there.
Yeah, man, Jordan Reid, in my personal opinion, might have been one of the best tight ends I've ever seen in my life. Like, called him Mr. Unguardable. Like, I mean, I literally seen this man not be stopped on the football field in actual games and off seasons. I've been with him in Miami where he's going against your top corners at the time, Joe Hayden, Stephon Gilmore, so-and-so, and he's giving them the business. Like, I'm talking about they can't stop him at all. I've just never seen a tight end really with that type of wiggle, and it just looked like he was able to translate basketball over to the football field. Like, he ran routes like he was doing a Euro step and things of that nature. I'm glad that he was able to walk away from the game on his own reconnaissance. I actually spoke to Jordan earlier this morning. He's in good spirits, man. I'm wishing him and his family the best. And yeah, man, it's just one of those scary things with concussions. You really don't know how it's going to play later down the line in life. And, he has a beautiful family, daughters that, he wants to be here for and protect. That comes before football anytime. He has money, so he's good. Main thing is just maintaining his health and his sanity and making sure that he can be here long term with his family.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, for me, it was two tight ends in my lifetime as a Washington fan that I got excited for on draft day, and it was Fred Davis and Jordan Reid. Ooh. But Fred Davis could have been so much more than he was, but he just, I don't think mentally he was there. But Jordan Reid is a guy that we're going to talk about years down the line. Like, I see the questions get asked all the time, even today. It's a popular question. Who was a guy that you would go back and say, I wish they had a healthy career all throughout their career and see where they would have went? Jordan Reid is a guy that will always pop up for me when it comes to the Washington fandom, because I felt like a healthy Jordan Reid was a top 3 tight end in the NFL, and who knows how long he could have been that, because as AJ said, his route running was, impeccable. You had to have a cornerback check Jordan Reid. He was only a tight end by title, but he ran like a wide receiver. So, but it was just availability was his only thing that stopped him from being even greater or looked at in a higher light than he was. And like I said, that's going to be a guy we're going to look at years from now and always say that if you could think of one player that didn't get injured, who was this guy? It would always be Jordan Reid for me in the Washington football standpoint from my viewpoint.
So to catch up on a couple of comments, O mentioned Alex Smith is forever good in his books for his time with us, a winner one way or another. Then mentioning, actually, I sports only. If you're still in here, go ahead and clarify. But he mentioned, would you all put him in the Ring of Fame? I don't know if he was healthy longer. I don't know, but if he was healthy longer, he would have. I don't know if he was speaking on Alex Smith or Jordan Reid. He didn't specify at that point. But that was one comment that I'll let you all. And there's one more comment. Jay Grizz 12. Oh, appreciate the follow. I'm sure I know who Jay Grizz is, man. But what's good, bro? He mentioned when Reid was healthy, he was second to nobody at the tight end position. And so sports only mentioned Jordan Reid. So the question would be, would you all put Jordan Reid in the Ring of Fame? for Washington?
Unfortunately, no, not for me. I mean, because I mean, it's not a knock on Jordan.
I
Reed
just like
per
how
se.
Dre answered that. He said, unfortunately,
Hey, I mean,
nope.
because I hate to say it, but no, I wouldn't. Like, I mean, because it's kind of the same argument people had for Alex Smith. It was like,
Oh yeah.
should we put Alex Smith in the Ring of Fame? I feel like it should be a little bit more sacred than I want, it to be for guys' careers who really made an impact here. Now, unfortunately, again, Jordan Reed is another guy that kind of shined in the sea of shit, but he didn't shine for long in the sea of shit. It was like it was a couple of games here and there we would see it, or maybe if he was healthy for more than half of a season, you would see it then. But that was very few and far often. So I couldn't put him in the Ring of Fame because I don't want it to get watered down for me personally.
Is Rick Doc Walker up there?
That's a good question.
I don't know. Let me look it up. But go ahead. I'll look it up while you're doing that.
Because if he is, then Jordan Reed, his whole family need to be up there as well.
100% if that's the
case. But yeah, I think I'll put Jordan up there. I think when you look at the landscape of the team over the last 10, 15 years, I've said this in our previous episodes. This team has really lacked elite talent. You've had Deshaun Taylor's, Chris Samuels, Trent Williams, Clem Portis, now Chase Young. But aside from that, this team really hasn't had much elite talent. At least when Jordan Reed was on the field, he put a lot of fear into defenses and coordinators. So it's like, in my opinion, if we're talking about within the last 10, 15 years, yeah. If you're talking about maybe Washington football team totality, like I really don't know. That's a toss up. But I mean, like Reed, when healthy and was present, he was definitely the best tight end in the league. He was George Kittle. He was Travis Kelce, but even better.
So Rick is not in the Hall of Fame. Oh, excuse me, Ring of Fame for them, which is actually kind of surprising given how much he's been around this team recently. But yeah, he's not in the Ring of Fame.
But that makes me respect it more, honestly, because he didn't have the numbers. But no, I'm looking at it too right now, Maul, and this is actually a good question. Like, I'm starting to look, where's Clinton Portis and Santana Moss? And the reason I'm asking is Sean Taylor's on here. Now, obviously, Sean Taylor's in there for more than football reasons, but yeah. I feel like if you're going to put Sean Taylor in for that era, Clinton and Moss has to come in there too.
7 years tenured, and then you have 9 years with Santana Moss, who was tenured with Washington. And these guys, like Clinton mentioned, bro, like they made such an impact on this community and on the team, bro, and the fan base growing up in that time. Like, that is a really good comment in terms of if Sean is on there. Obviously, his circumstances are much more detailed and more in depth. But like these guys, they made an impact with Washington as well. So that's kind of weird to not see them on there. At least right now. Maybe down the line, I don't know, but they definitely should be on there eventually. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. I think that about does it for all of us with today's episode. For everybody that's still here live, we do appreciate you all for joining, man. We do appreciate the patience that you all had when we were setting Clinton up to join us. Obviously it took a couple of minutes, but we were able to get him on, man. He gave us, before the connectivity issues for wherever it came from. It may have just been Wi-Fi, I don't know. But for what it's worth, he was able to give us a great conversation before we had to bow out on both ends. But obviously, truly appreciate y'all. AJ and Dre, great show, man. We will talk later, obviously. But definitely great show to you all, and shout out to AJ again for getting Clinton on today. We may have somebody next week as well. But shout out to AJ, man. Appreciate you for setting that up, man, for the Drop or Dive podcast. And we can go ahead and close out.
Problem. We got the NFL draft next week.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I'm waiting for. That's a big thing for us next week.
Yes, sir. I can't wait to tune in, man. And obviously, we're gonna try and get somebody on to to talk a little bit draft.
Maybe y'all should go live Thursday during the draft. I mean, I can't be present, but maybe y'all should do that.
I'm thinking
I
about
don't
it,
have
man.
anything going on, Jamal. If you want to do it, Jamal, you let me know, man. I can make time on Thursday. We can do the draft.
That's a bet. I'm thinking about doing the live event thing. We just got to work the legalities of it, which is going to be pretty simple, just annoying. I'll explain it to you off air. But I'll break that down for you. But we can definitely try and get that going for everybody to tune in, join up. Yeah, Grizz, we may do the live stream for Thursday. We ain't doing the whole draft. You know what I'm saying? That should take 20 hours.
Well,
Can't do it. Can't do it. I'm gonna buy out of my own stream. I'm gonna quit. I'll catch y'all tomorrow and just leave the stream.
We can hop in around the 15th pick. We can, you know what I'm saying, right before we pick.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, I think Washington gonna move up.
You might be right.
You know what?
Right.
Yeah, I'm about to say I may tune in I may cut the stream on at the first pick, and then Dre, you could join in whenever you're ready. And we can go from there too. So either way works, man. But we'll get that sorted out for sure.
All right, man. Appreciate y'all boys.
All right, for sure, yes, man. Hey, appreciate everybody tuning in. Dre, AJ, appreciate y'all. I'm very appreciative, clearly, and I can't stop saying thanks. But I'm gonna let it go. Get off the call with y'all. Get off the call with y'all, motherfuckers, man. So I catch y'all next week. I'll chat with y'all in the chat.
I bet.
All right.